Velasco, and thank you for reading.
Manny Pacquiao, I suppose, I don't think there'll be a problem for Manny.
Has its share of great fights. But every once in a while, human mind can also be controlled for nothing. Again, happy nothing.
PM, only here on Para sa Bayan. And that's the opening bell for Round by Round presented by Eastern Communications. Mabuhay Pilipinas! Hello world! I'm Boyet Sison.
And I'm Ryan Sanglia. Bill Velasco joins us later on in the show.
On this edition of our program, we talk about the WBC confirming that the winner of the Tyson Fury-Deontay Wilder 3 fight must defend against the battle between WBC champion Dylan the Body Snatcher White and Otto Wallen. Now, with this victory by Tyson Fury, Ryan, it seems that there will be a lot more interest as to who he will be fighting next. A lot of people have been saying that it should be already Alexander Usyk's turn to go against Tyson Fury. But that will not happen yet, right? So this is what's going to happen, right?
Yes. So we have to see what happens with these two fighters. It'll be very interesting because Dylan White is the interim champion. He's never gotten his shot at a full world championship. So I really want to see how that goes. And also, Dylan White is a well-known fighter in the UK. Tyson Fury, of course, is also from the UK. You could do that fight, at the O2, but you probably could put that at an open air stadium like Wembley and really get a lot of fans out there. And I think it's been a long time since there's been like a great British versus British heavyweight title fight. I'm thinking like maybe Lennox Lewis against Frank Bruno. So this has the potential to be like that. Dylan White is a dangerous fighter. He's strong. He gave Anthony Joshua a lot of trouble in their fight. That was kind of his coming out party and was the first real stern test for Anthony Joshua. So yeah, that could be the fight. Or we could see Otto Wallen, who gave Tyson Fury an excellent fight, cut him up in a way that we thought he might have been stopped. That was a nasty cut, one of the worst cuts I've ever seen a guy survive. In fact, I was looking at, I'm like, do they just not stop fights on cuts anymore? So that could also happen.
It's very interesting to note that after this fight between Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder, the interest, well, not only, but right after Alexander Usyk was able to win against his opponent, and now Fury winning, that interest for the heavyweight division has really taken a life of its own. And now, with the prospect of a British, as you said, a Briton against another Briton. With regards to the worldwide audience, a Briton going up against another Briton, would that be as interesting as the past two heavyweight fights that we have witnessed so far?
If they look like that fight we just saw, yeah. I mean, I would watch. I don't care if the guy was from Zimbabwe against Iceland. If you're gonna play like drop each other like yo-yos, I'm gonna watch that. There's 250, 270 pound guys, going up and down like elevators. That sounds like a lot of fun. Yeah, I think that when heavyweight boxing is great, there's nothing better. And because we gotten used to being cynical because fights not delivering, and then safety first heavyweight champions like Vladimir Klitschko, but now we're seeing like all out gaudy wars at the highest level of the scale. Who wouldn't want to watch that?
Mm. Well, is that also because in the lower weight classes, of course, what we've seen very recently, more so with fighters that are now adopting the style of a Floyd Mayweather Jr. They've since been very hungry for really drawn out wars. And if only for them, during the days of Muhammad Ali and all these great heavyweights, Mike Tyson, Joe Frazier, Lennox Lewis, we have been there has been such a void for for this kind of stuff. And from what we've seen, as I've mentioned, the past two heavyweight fights that we've seen has really gotten the imagination again going, the interest going for better quality matches. And if this Fury and the Deontay Wilder fight would be the shape of things to come, well, the heavyweight division will be making more money than the other divisions as far as prize money and audience share is concerned. What do you think?
Yeah, I remember in the mid 2000s just being astonished that we'd have like heavyweight title fights that were on the undercards of like lighter weight division championships.
Yeah.
And like, how far had heavyweight championship boxing fallen? But just as like there are some people who lament the development of buddy ball in basketball, I've sort of lamented that in boxing. It's like buddy boxing. It was like, boxing became a business, and you had guys who were kind of like, friendly outside the ring, and they, and then they go in there and it was just about getting paid. The best fights are not championship fights, like, when you have a belt at stake. It's when you're fighting for the championships of yourselves, right? And like, I want to be better than this guy, and what we saw with Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder were two guys who really cared about their legacies, and they wanted to be great fighters, not just like, oh, I want to go out there and I want to make money. It's like, I want to be the best ever. And the way you do that, way you step up the ladder, is you beat up the other guys who want to be the best. And so there was no quit again in between those two. And I think that's what makes, even doesn't matter what the outcomes were, win, lose, both fighters were elevated by being a part of that trilogy. And I think that when you have circumstances like that, where the best fight the best, and they set aside promotional differences, and they just make those fights, you're going to see people. It's going to be great for their legacies, but it's also going to be great for fans. And people are going to want to watch. People are going to have something to get excited about. Like, how many times do we see? We know the fight. We know the champion. And then unless you like sit all day on BoxRec, you have no idea who the contender is. That's really not great for boxing, because you have no expectation. It's basically like a WWE squash match. You'll see like, The Undertaker against like a guy who like, fixes your plumbing, right? And what's going to happen, and it's going to look, he's going to look great, but you're like, so what?
Right. Let's now go back and focus on this fight, which is slated for October 30th at the O2 Arena in London, in England. It's White versus Wallen. White at 33 years old, fighting a person 3 years younger than him in Wallen. Looking at these two fighters, Ryan, what are the styles? Tell our audience, well, including me, educate us about the styles of these two fighters.
Well, Otto Wallen, who trains in New York City, I got a chance to see him before he kind of was breaking out. He's from Sweden. He's a southpaw, boxer, puncher, kind of moves a little bit, has a very dangerous right hook. If you're getting too close, he's 6'5". He looked kind of small when people saw him at the last time, when they saw him in a significant fight. That's because he was fighting Tyson Fury, and Tyson Fury, makes everyone look small. But you have to remember, he's a 6'5" heavyweight, southpaw, and you don't see many of those. He wasn't as aggressive as I would have liked to have seen him once he got Fury cut. He probably could have picked it up and maybe gotten something done, maybe even stopped him. So, he's a dangerous fighter. And then we have Dillian Whyte. Dillian Whyte is a known, just a known commodity, more known commodity. He's been around for a while in heavyweight boxing. He had that, stunning knockout loss to Alexander Povetkin, which is, I thought, like one of the best heavyweight knockouts I've seen in a long time. It was a one shot, like it was like a half uppercut hook, because White was getting too aggressive and walked into something. But Dillian White was winning that fight, and he's an aggressive fighter. He's strong, physically strong. He can make your night really long, and he can make your life pretty tough with this pressure.
Now, let's go to our second topic of discussion, ladies and gentlemen, mga kaibigan. At ngayon, pag-uusapan po namin ni Ryan ang nalalapit ng pagboto ng mga journalists and everybody, whoever, for the many that matter as far as voting people into the 2022 Boxing Hall of Fame. Maraming mga pangalan, mga kaibigan, ang sinuggest na malathala dito. And for all of the names that have been officially placed on that list, on that ballot, marami tayong makita mga pangalan na napaka-pamilyar sa atin sa Pilipinas, ano? And just to include it in the mix, there are Asians actually in this mix. Am I correct, Mr. Songalia?
Yeah, there are a few Thai fighters. Saw Chitalada is on there. There's a Korean, Sung Kil Moon is on the list. Chris John from Indonesia. He was a dominant featherweight for a while. And then, of course, the most familiar for Filipino fans would be the Thai champion Ponsuklik Wanjongkam, who fought many Filipinos. You can't tell the story of Wanjongkam's career without Filipinos. He started his started his championship run by beating Malcolm Tunyakau, and then lost to a couple of Filipinos at the end. Sonny Boy Haro was the guy who knocked him out to end his championship run. So he should be someone that the Filipino fans would know. But Ratanapol Soavorapin is also on the list. He's also a Thai fighter.
Another familiar name to us. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Another, just to round off, just to rattle off some names here for the benefit of our audience. If names like Jorge Arce, Poli Ayala, Timothy Bradley, Joel Casamayor, you have Miguel Cotto, Chris Eubank, Ricky Hatton, Roy Jones Jr., Miguel Happy Laura is also on the ballot. Michael Moorer is on the ballot. Antonio Tarver is also included in the ballot. James Toney also in the ballot.
Lights out.
There you go. There you go. As a member of the panel that will be voting on this ballot, explain to us, Ryan, what will be the procedure? All these names are on the ballot. How does the procedure go as far as you guys voting are concerned?
You get the letter in the mail with the list, and they added a few names every year. They induct. There used to be 3 would get in, but I think now it's like if you're at a certain, if a certain number of fighters get a portion higher, like a percentage higher, there can actually be more than 3 now. It's I still don't understand fully how it works, but I just vote for who I think are the best. And I usually have a strategy myself. I go with, okay, I know these guys are going to get in. These are the guys that have to get in. And then I go with the guys I want to stay on the ballot. So I vote for guys that I want to keep appearing on the ballot and maybe nudge them closer towards eventual induction. And that sort of strategy worked a little bit because Buddy McGirt, whom I thought should have been in the Hall of Fame, he was on the ballot for a while, and I kept voting for him, even though there are other guys that should be there as well. I kind of wanted to keep that alive. And then when we had a lesser year where there weren't big names dominating the ballot, he got in. So I can share with the 5 fighters that I'm gonna vote for. Roy Jones is, obviously that's a no-brainer. James Toney, I thought should have gotten in last year. I don't know what James Toney is boxing. I don't know why anyone would not vote for him. Ivan Calderon, I think he should get in. Very underrated boxer, great technician. Joel El Cepillo Casamayor. I thought he should have gotten in as well. Very crafty fighter, intelligent, underrated because he didn't have a huge punch, but he fought everyone and fought them all again if he had to. And Miguel Cotto, one of the big stars of our era, and some people would say my doppelganger. So
Yeah, just to add something to the mix. Manny Pacquiao announced his retirement in 2021. Just explain to our audience. Of course, a lot of people have been, already hankering as to his inclusion into the Boxing Hall of Fame. Why can't Manny Pacquiao, or why is Manny Pacquiao not on the ballot yet?
Oh, because you have to wait 3 years. It used to be 5, I think, but now it's like 3 years. You have to be retired for 3 years. He could be like Edge in the WWE and like go straight to the Hall of Fame right after his last match. I would say it would be okay, but with the way that it is with boxers, especially they announce their retirements and then they come back. I wouldn't feel comfortable just throwing him in there right now. I'd say let him have a couple years of retirement and then sort of show that he's retired. Although to be honest, like just with the pandemic, he was off for 2 years, so just do one more year than that, and he's got it.
Okay, just to close off this particular segment of our program, Ryan, according to this ballot that I'm reading right now, ballots must be submitted by mail by October 31st, 2021. And when will the result be revealed?
It's a great question. It's usually early next year. That's when they start planning for the
Induction.
for the Boxing Hall of Fame weekend, which is really a magical thing, or so I've been told. I've only been up there once, but I've never actually gone to the Hall of Fame weekend. But I will be there next year if they have it. Hopefully we get back to doing that. It's been sorely missed from boxing, and a lot of the names that were staples of that event are not with us anymore, and it's a shame. Like Marvin Hagler would be there every year, and he passed. And hopefully, fans can get up there and interact and with their favorite fighters before they pass on.
And now, for the next segment of our program, we now turn it over to our colleague, Jill Velasco.
Thanks, Ryan and Boyet. Ngayong hapon po makakapanayam natin ang pinakabatang Pilipino na naging world champion, Morris East, a former WBA world super lightweight champion. All right, Morris, my first question really is, ano ba yung plano nung naisipan mong magretiro? What was the plan when you retired from boxing?
Hindi, parang nawala na ako ng gana nung basta bigla na lang nawalan ako ng gana, Bel. Pagkatapos noon, sinubukan ko ngayon mag-train. Mag-trainer. Ayun, kita niya naman yung nagawa ko. Train ako. Tapos bandang huli naman, sinubukan ko naman mag-manage ngayon.
Naging manager ka, tapos ano yung naging issue nyo ni Cuadro Alas?
Wala. Bill, si Cuadro Alas, nung walang tumulong sa kanya, humingi siya sa akin ng tulong, tinulungan ko, dinala ko dito. Tapos nung pagkatapos dito, pinapirma ko ng kontrata, ako manager. Tapos pagdating dito, ayun, kaya tumakas, pumunta sa MP promotion, kaya hinabol ko sila.
Ano nang status nung problema mo na yun?
Okay naman. Nung nag-settle naman kami, ako pa rin manager niya hanggang this year. Okay naman.
As a trainer, paano ka napunta sa grupo ni Floyd Mayweather? How did that happen?
Ni Floyd, kasi yung kilala mo siguro to si Idi Muhammad Mustafa, former world champion din. Tapos, nag-apply ako sa kanya kasi marami siyang boxer. Kailangan niyang assistant. Yun, kaya doon ako nag-umpisa, Bel.
Pag nagte-train ka ba? Kasi may mga nahawakan ka na naging world champion din, no? Sina Zab Judah, sina Nito Donaire. Can you tell, nakikita mo ba agad na pwedeng maging world champion tong batang to pag hinawakan mo?
Oh, yeah. Buti binanggit mo siya. Yung una nung napunta ako kay Zab Judah, kay Zab, tapos dati kay Sab, wala nang humawak nun mula nung natalo siya kay Floyd. Halos, alam mo naman, di si Sab. Kaya pa-down na siya noon. Tapos, nakita, sabi ko, mayroon pa. Yan, nakikita ko naman agad, Bel, na mayroon pa. Pwede pa. Kaya tapos nung, medyo pag nakita ko na medyo, nung natalo kami kay American, kumalas, gusto ko nang kumalas. Sabi niya, bye, pagbigyan mo ako ulit. Yun. Yung kay Danny Garcia, yun, pinagbigyan ko pa rin. Tapos kay Puli Manalay, pinagbigyan. Nung natalo, mayon na talaga ako. Sabi ko, iba naman.
What makes you decide to train a boxer? Halimbawa, may lumapit sa yung boksingero. And what are the factors na gugustuhin mo yun o tatanggapin mo yung boxer?
Oh, yeah. Depende, Bel. Kung yung talagang desidido siya, nandyan, 100% ako. Pero pag nakita ko rin boxer na wala, sinasabihan ko lang na nasa iyo. Pero para sa akin, ako na lang mismong ayaw na magsayang ako ng oras, Bel. Sayang din.
Meron tayong di ba, parang napakaraming Pilipino na world champion ngayon, di ba? I think we have 6 or 7 world champions. Nagugulat ka ba na ganun karami o talagang in-expect mo na maraming Pilipino talaga mag-world champion?
Hindi naman, Bel. Kasi ngayon, hindi naman. Kasi hindi naman ako nagugulat, Bel. Hindi naman. Kung magsikap lang, okay naman.
Isang madalas pag-usapan kasi dito sa Pilipinas na mga Pinoy na naglalaban sa isa't isa, no, para sa World Championship. Parang yung mga ibang fans ayaw nila pag dalawang Pilipinong naglalaban. Ikaw, how do you feel about that?
Dapat laban is laban. Walang pilihan. Parehas dito. Kung itim, Mexicano, puti, ganun lang naman yun. Kung maglaban, dapat suportahan parehas. Kung sinong maiwan, kung sinong matalo, sinong panalo, ganun, suportahan pa rin natin.
Okay. Sa mga batang hawak mo ngayon, Morris, sino ba sa tingin mo magiging world champion?
Sa ngayon, nandiyan lang ako kay Dunero. Mayroon kasi kaming binabalak lang. Hindi, wala pa akong hinawakan ngayon, Ben. Pero dyan sa Pilipinas, mayroon ako nakikita dyan. Pwede. At konting matulungan, matrain lang na maayos, pwede. Mayroon.
Okay, secret pa ba?
Ha?
Sikreto pa ba? Ayaw mo pa ba sabihin kung sino?
Ay, hindi. Nandiyan hindi ko pa pwedeng sabihin kasi hanggat alam mo na, negotiation to tayo ngayon, Bel. Pag okay na, ko siya kaagad. Yeah.
Alright. Maraming salamat, Morris.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Morris, for your time. Please stay safe and take care of yourself.
Okay, thank you. Salamat sa inyo.
Salamat. Ingat.
Bye. Salamat.
And that's our interview with Morris East, the former WBA World Super Lightweight Champion. Back to Boyet and Ryan.
Thank you, Bill. Let's now go to our fearless fighter, brought to you by Eastern Communications. And our choice is Deontay Wilder. Of course, unfortunate that he had to suffer a knockout in the 11th round against Tyson Fury. But why are we choosing Deontay Wilder, Mr. Songalia?
A lot of people in America, they lament the outsourcing that has taken a lot of jobs out of America. So I'm always fond of saying that the last great product made by American steel were Deontay Wilder's balls, because he is just a tough man. Win or lose, balls of steel, just, win or lose, he goes out there and he gives it everything. He's not everyone's cup of tea with some of the deranged things that he's said, but he hung in there against Tyson Fury in that third fight. He fought like a heavyweight champion is supposed to, or at least how we always romanticized it, younger. It's like, don't stop the fight. Let me go out on my shield. And he went down as many times as he had to, and before the referee stopped the fight. He let his corner know, listen, I'm going out there like a champion. It was so bad that I was concerned for him, medically afterwards, because he really took a lot of punishment, and the way he went down like he had nothing left. And
the condition of his face already at that time, but more so in the middle rounds, from about round number 7, round number 8, the puffiness in the eyes. But let me ask you this question: do you believe that he injured? I don't know. I was seeing him holding on to his left wrist. Was there an injury to the wrist, or maybe was there pain in the wrist?
I'm sure there was because he switched gloves. I believe he was using Everlast MX gloves. I'm not saying that they're not good gloves, but when you're getting used to a new pair of gloves, that could be an issue. But Wilder, when you're throwing punches as hard as they are, every puncher has hand problems, and it was just interesting to see how he, how he switched things up, and he was trying to fight a different strategy. When you're doing things you're not used to, yeah, you can get hurt sometimes. But we talk about like fearless fighters, right? And that's what this segment called. And I don't think that there's one thing like a guy goes out there and takes a risk and he fights, and or we talk about a fearless forecast. We can go out there and think who's going to win the fight. There's nothing more fearless than a person staring down death, and that's what I felt like he was staring down. Like it was like he was almost like he was giving too much. And for that, I'm like, what? He really walked his walk. I don't care what anyone says. He said that this is what he wanted. He fought like it.
And I totally agree with you on that point, because when the post reactions started coming out in social media, there were very few who gave a negative reactive to that result. A lot of them praising, of course, Tyson Fury, but also given a lot of props to Deontay Wilder, who after the knockouts, after being knocked down in the fourth round, just kept on pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing it, even knocking down Tyson Fury twice. But after the second knockdown by Deontay Wilder, I think that even more so showed this desire to keep on fighting and just stand his ground, to show the world, hey, I am still in this game. I am still gonna give it my best shot, and give it this best shot. He did.
Yeah, it's weird because like Wilder was fighting in such a way that it was like from like I think the fourth, fifth, sixth rounds on, like he had no legs, and if you have no legs, you can't fight. And I wondered if it was fatigue or did he have something wrong with him? Like did he have an injury? Maybe like from getting concussed and has lost control of his legs. That happens too. It may not have just been fatigue. So I was really concerned about it. And I'm like, with what he said to his corner, after blaming his corner for stopping the fight in the second fight when he was really getting hurt, they were gonna let him hang, out there and like just fight. And I worried about that because we want to see a great fight. We don't want to see anyone get hurt. And but Wilder was determined, like to fight like one of those 1930s, 1940s fighters.
Those bruisers. Yes, those bruisers.
Let it all hang out there, and and Wilder. There's nothing you can say bad about Wilder. He went out there, he trained as hard as he could, he tried new things. When it came down to it, he fought like a warrior, and that's what you're gonna do. I don't know what's gonna happen to these guys next. I don't know where Wilder goes from here, but I don't think anyone's gonna forget how great that fight was. That last night, that fight was Wilder Fury was like Foreman Lyle, updated. It was like, it was that kind of a fight where, it was Gotti Ward, between 270, 240 pound fighters. So what more can a boxing fan want?
And that's our Fearless Fighter, brought to you by Eastern Communications. And that's the final bell for this episode of Round by Round, presented by Eastern Communications. My name is Boyet Cesar.
And I'm Ryan Sangalia. We're on Facebook at 9 p.m. Monday through Friday, and on our YouTube channel right after. So like, follow, share, and subscribe now.
Tomorrow, it'll be Nisi Icasiano, my partner, Ryan Sangalia, and Roy's, yours truly, that will be answering the bell. This has been Round by Round. All boxing, all Filipino, all the time. Take care.